The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Mark. On leaving the synagogue, Jesus entered the house of Simon and Andrew with James and John. Simon's mother-in-law lay sick with a fever. They immediately told him about her. He approached, grasped her hand, and helped her up. Then the fever left her, and she waited on them. When it was evening after sunset, they brought to him all who were ill or possessed by demons. The whole town was gathered at the door. He cured many who were sick with various diseases, and he drove out many demons, not permitting them to speak because they knew him. Rising very early before dawn, he left and went off to a deserted place where he prayed. Simon and those who were with him pursued him, and on finding him said, "Everyone is looking for you." He told them, "Let us go on to the nearby villages, that I may preach there also. For this purpose have I come." So he went into their synagogues, preaching and driving out demons throughout the whole of Galilee. The Gospel of the Lord. So this past week, I was able to do what Jesus did. I went off to a deserted place in my rectory, in my chapel, and I was on retreat this past week, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful because I was able to connect with my spiritual director every day. He gave me scriptural passages to pray with and to meditate on. And so every morning at 9 o'clock, I'd have a Zoom conference with him. Everybody's on Zoom now. And he's 94 years old. And Monsignor Esif, at one time, was Mother Teresa's spiritual director. And Padre Pio was Monsignor's spiritual director. And Monsignor told me a story about what happened when he met Padre Pio. And he said that Padre Pio looked him right in the eyes and said, "Are you a curiosity seeker? Everyone is looking for you," Peter said to Jesus. Everyone's looking for you. But some were curiosity seekers because they wanted to see the magic. They didn't necessarily not interested in what he had to say. They just wanted to see the stuff. Curiosity seekers. You remember 2 or 3 weeks ago, the gospel in Mark's gospel, John the Baptist points out Jesus and says to Andrew and his disciples, "Look, the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world." And they begin to follow Jesus. And Jesus turns around and says, "What are you looking for? What are you looking for? Master, where are you staying? Come, you'll see. Come and you'll see." Everyone is looking for you. And you know why? For the very same reasons that we heard proclaimed in the first reading. Life is drudgery. I can remember when I was a kid, my father knew this man, He was so cynical. And I heard him say over and over and over again, I was born to slave, suffer, and die. That was his attitude. He believed that. I was born to slave, suffer, and die. There was nothing positive about life for him. What was he looking for? What he was looking for is the same thing that we're all looking for. To be delivered from that drudgery, the same thing that Job was looking for. Same thing. We're all looking for that. We all want to know that there's something better than this. Everyone is looking for you. But the $64,000 question is, for what reason? What are we looking for? You know, oftentimes when people approach Jesus, his question was, what do you want me to do for you? What do you want me to do for you? And so St. Paul tells us in the second reading today that he has a role to play. And the role that he has to play is that he has to preach the gospel. And he says, if I do that willingly, I have a recompense. If I do it unwillingly, he said, then Christ has commissioned me. I have stewardship. I've been given to do something that does not belong to me, but for which I'm going to have to give a full accounting. And he asks the question, what is my recompense? See, everyone should ask that question. We want to know, what is in it for me? And the answer to the question that Paul comes up with is, I have a share in the gospel. That's my recompense. Every one of us has a role to play. Every one of us, as a disciple of Jesus Christ, has been given a commission. It is not a suggestion, it's an obligation. If we do it willingly, we have a recompense. If we do it unwillingly, then we are stewards. And you know what Jesus said about stewardship? He said that after we've done everything that we've been asked to do, that we should say nothing but we are useless servants. We've only done what we were supposed to do. It's like the guy who hires you. And he wants to pay you a salary for working for him. I owe him a week's worth for a week's pay. I owe him a week's work for a week's pay. Should I be grateful that he hired me? Well, maybe yes, I should be grateful that he hired me. Should I expect any more from him than what we agreed upon? No, I shouldn't. No, I shouldn't. And so Paul says, I got a duty, I have a responsibility, and woe to me if I don't do it. Every one of us has a role to play with regards to the gospel. Every one of us has been chosen to do something. I can't do what you've been chosen to do. You cannot do what I've been chosen to do. If I don't do it, it won't get done. No one else can do what God has called me to do. No one else can do what God has called you to do. If we don't do it, it won't get done. Everyone is looking for you. I have the answer right here. as to why. And I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to share it with you because it isn't something that you don't already know, but I think it's something that we all need to be reminded of every once in a while, because it is the reason why we do what we do. Because of the recompense that we share in the good news. So what I want to share with you again this morning has to do with a resurrected body. There are qualities of a resurrected body. And that's why we do what we do. That's why we preach the good news. Because it is the answer to the drudgery that Job talks about in this life. It is the answer to that man whose attitude was, I was born to slave, suffer, and die. He didn't know about this. Or if he knew about it, he didn't believe it. So the first quality of a resurrected body is the principle of what we call impassibility. What does that mean? It means that a glorified body will not be subject to any kind of suffering whatsoever. No more pain, no more discomfort, no more illness, no more harm will come to the body in any way, shape, form, or manner. It will no longer be subject to death, corruption, or to change. I can't wait. No more drudgery, no more pain, no more suffering, no more death, no more disappointment. No more, no more, no more. The second principle of a resurrected body is that what we call of clarity. The glorified body will have a beauty, a glory, a splendor, according to the extent of the growth of grace at the end of this present life. In other words, my body, my risen body, is going to reflect the glory of Christ's glorified risen body. But the brightness of my glory, the brightness of your glory, is going to be directly proportionate to the amount of God's grace that we cooperated with in this life. In this life. And so when I cooperate with God's grace, when I seek to live a life of virtue, God's grace does what it's designed and supposed to do, makes me holy. Makes me holy. My glorified body is going to reflect that. In other words, when you see me and I see you, I'm going to know how well you cooperated with God's grace, and you will know how well I did. In other words, you will know how much I really liked my sin. Oh yeah, I like my sin. I do. But I have a lot of company. We like our sin. We're attached to it. We don't want to give it up. And so our glorified bodies are going to reflect that clarity. Some bodies are going to shine more than others. The third principle of a resurrected body is that of subtlety. St. Paul refers to this quality of the risen body when he talks about our body being natural because it is subject to natural conditions such as generation, growth, nutrition. But after the resurrection, on the last day, our bodies will no longer need these biological functions that serve a present and temporary purpose. The risen body will be spiritual, that is entirely subject to the needs and wishes of the glorified soul. Right now, my soul is subject to my body. But in the next life, my body is going to be subject to my soul. This does not mean that the body ceases to be material, but that it is freed from the conditions and functions that serve only a temporary end. In contrast, the risen body will no longer be a hindrance to the soul. Praise the Lord for that. But rather, its perfect instrument. It will no longer be a source of temptation. In other words, the flesh is not going to desire that which the soul knows it should not have. Passions that war against the spirit will no longer exist. Consequently, there will be no more straying thoughts or cravings for forbidden pleasures. No more wanderings of the mind away from the presence of God. No more danger of offending Him. In this life, the body often gets its way against the dictates and wishes of the soul. The glorified body will be completely submissive to the soul, just as the soul will be completely submissive to God. The order lost by sin of Adam will have been restored. That's called original justice. In other words, in the next life, in our glorified and risen state, our relationship with God is going back to what Adam and Eve's relationship with God was prior to the fall. When Adam and Eve walked and talked with God in the cool of the night in paradise, we will see Him face to face. That's what grace is designed to do. That's what grace is for. And the fourth principle and final principle of a resurrected body is that of agility. The body will be freed from the heaviness that now presses it down and will take on a capability of moving with the utmost ease and swiftness wherever the soul pleases to take it. So that whatever instant that we shall choose, at the same instant, the body will be in whatever place that we shall determine. Can you imagine that? Right now, if I want to go to Portsmouth, I got to get in my car and drive to Portsmouth. Or I got to take the bus, or I got to some form of transportation. That's the only way I'm going to get to Portsmouth. Can you imagine after Mass this morning, you want to take your family for lunch to Honolulu? All you got to do is think about it, and you're there. That's the principle, because that's a body that's going to be able to walk through walls like Jesus' body did. In the present life, as we are well aware, this body of ours is limited in its capacity to move from place to place. Even the astronauts are limited in the speed that they can travel, swift as it is. Yet the glorified body will be able to reach the most distant spot with the swiftness of a single thought. Now here's the other secret. In a few moments, we're transitioning from the liturgy of the Word to the liturgy of the Eucharist. Do you know what the liturgy of the Eucharist is? Do you know what the Eucharist is? It is the resurrected body of our Lord Jesus Christ. When we come to communion, we are receiving resurrection, a down payment on what is yet to come. That's the good news. That's what we're called to preach. And if the world isn't convinced, maybe it might have something to do with the fact that I'm not. Everybody is looking for you.